Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to look at loans and amortization tables. Now, for any loan that is secured, the payments that need to be made to repay the debt consists of two parts. One part of the payment pays off the interest, and we will indicate that with a capital I. And the second part of the payment reduces the capital and is referred to as the principal amount, PRN. So a simple formula can be given by the following, that the payment consists out of the interest part and the principal part. If we look at example 40, in example 24, the present value of a loan, which was to be repaid by 5 equal monthly payments of 1,000 rands, was calculated and found to be 4,782 rands. We did many variations on this example, so you should be familiar with this example by now. The interest rate was fixed at 18% per annum, compounded monthly. Now in example 36, the person borrowing the money determined that the outstanding balance after the third payment was 1,955 rands. So in this example, we would like to determine how much of the next payment, the fourth payment, pays off the interest and how much pays off the capital. Now, before we do that, just to explain this whole idea of the two parts of a payment again. Now, suppose that we have these 5 payments of 1,000 rands each. And this is just a rough drawing of that. So each of these payments are 1,000 rands. And each of these payments will consist of a principal part. Part of that 1,000 rands will pay off the capital, and part of that will be the interest that you pay. Now, for each new payment, the principal part will become a little bit more. So the part of the payment that is principal will increase as the outstanding balance decreases, and the part that is the interest part will decrease as we continue in time. So if we stack all these principal parts, if we stack all 5 these principal parts, as I said, this is just a very rough drawing, then that principal part should come out as 4,782.64 cents. And in the same way, we can stack the interest part that will decrease for each new payment. Sorry for the drawing, it should actually be a little block like that. But that's just to show to you that for each of these payments, the payments remain 1,000 rands, but the portion going to the principal part and the interest part will change from payment to payment. Okay, so to get back to our question, we know that the outstanding balance at the third month is equal to 1,955, and we would like to know what part of the fourth payment is interest and how much pays off the capital. So if we make our timeline, this T1, T2, T3, T4, T5. So the outstanding balance at time T3 we know is 1,955.88 cents. So first of all, we can calculate the interest from time T3 to time T4. Now the interest, which I will call I4 because it's in the fourth time period, is equal to the effective monthly interest rate, which is the 18% divided by 12, so that's 0.015, and I multiply it with my outstanding balance of 1955. And therefore my interest part during the fourth time period is equal to 29 rands and 34 cents. So when I make my payment at time T4, that 1,000 rands, part of that 1,000 rands will be interest and part of that will be capital. So if I subtract from the interest, or rather if I subtract the interest from the payment, I will get the part that goes for the principal part for payment 4. So the principal part at time T4 is equal to my payment minus the interest in the fourth time period. So that is the 1,000 rands minus the 29 rands. That's 970 rands. So of this 1,000 rands here, 29 rands and 34 cents was interest, and the rest, 970 rand 66 cents, was the principal part. So that principal part pays off the outstanding balance. So if we want to get to the balance at time T4, that would be the balance, the previous balance, the balance at time T3, minus the principal portion of the payment at time T4. So that's the principal portion at time T4. Now we calculated in a previous example the outstanding balance at time T3, that's the 1955.88, so it's this outstanding balance here. I subtract from that the principal part of my payment at time T4, which is this 970 rands, and therefore my outstanding balance at time T4, 985 rands 22 cents. Okay, so you also have this table in your notes. It just shows you in symbol notation what we have done with numbers in the previous example. So if we look at example 41 in your notes, we actually redo example 40, but now we do it for each of the 5 payments. And I'm going to do this in Excel and show you that you can easily do it in a spreadsheet. Okay, so on this spreadsheet, my outstanding balance, or the original loan, is 4,782 rands. So during the first time period, from time T0 to time T1, what is the interest for that time period? Now the interest is equal to the effective monthly interest rate, so that is the 0.015, and then I multiply that with my outstanding balance. So the interest for that first time period is 71 rands, and therefore the principal part of my payment at time T1, I pay 1,000 rands, so the principal part there will be equal to my payment minus the interest portion. So that's 928. And now to get the outstanding balance at time T1 will just be the original loan minus the principal part of the payment. In other words, the part that I've paid back on my loan. And that's then 3,854 rands. Okay, let's do the next one. So now my outstanding balance is this 3,854. So the interest for time period T1 to T2 will then be again my 0.015, and I multiply that with my outstanding balance. So that's my interest part for that time period. So to get the principal part of my 1,000 rand payment, I just take the 1,000 rands and I subtract from that the interest portion. Okay, so that's the 942 rands. So my outstanding balance at time T2 is then equal to the previous outstanding balance minus the principal portion of my payment at time T2, and that is then 2912. Again, we can continue in this fashion up until time T5. So I'm just putting down these formulas. Okay, and here you can see, if you look at the interest column, you can see that the interest portion for each payment, remember the payments remain constant at 1,000 rands, but the interest portion will go down. The reason for that is that the outstanding balance reduces. And therefore, if the interest portion of the payment of 1,000 rands decrease, then the reduction on your debt, the principal part, should increase. Okay, and then this very last one, you can see it's minus 0.01. That's just rounding off, and that should actually then be just 0. In other words, that you have paid back your loan. Okay, you should be able now to continue with the exercises at the end of chapter 3, the exercises on section 3.4 to 3.6. You should be able to do numbers 1, 2, and 3.